Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to talk about dot cards because that's actually a question I've gotten often in my comments, especially when I mention dot cards for the color comparisons, or I should say color name comparisons I've been doing. So I kind of wanted to go over what they were because it's a question I see quite a bit, and just discuss how they work and honestly the benefits of them. So first of all, a dot card is something produced by a manufacturer. However, there are a few dot cards that are not available by the manufacturer because the manufacturer has to decide whether or not they create these. So there are some people on Etsy that will offer dot cards. I hope you don't hear my one husky howling in the background. She's really chatty today. But you do want to double check when you're looking on Etsy if it was handmade by that seller. A few things to keep in mind is, are they actually using that company's paint? Because there have been instances where people sell like whole dot cards and it ends up not actually being the paint from that company. I personally have not had that problem, but I've heard some horror stories from other people. Like they got a whole dot card set, tried them out, loved it, went and bought the original tube, and it was nothing like it. And then also the other thing to keep in mind is when you're buying those privately made ones, is the pigment information correct? Because, for example, I have, here's a perfect example. So this is not made by Holbein. Holbein did not create a dot card set. Like I said, it's up to the manufacturer, and there's quite a few brands that don't have them, including my absolutely favorite brand, Roman Schmal. However, they are supposedly working on tube paints, and I think with the tube watercolors, they'll probably get 2 dot cards. That's just a girl dreaming, but if you're watching Roman Schmal, hint hint. Okay, so Holbein doesn't have a dot card set. However, Tiny Supplies on Etsy makes these ones, and it's pretty cool, actually. It looks professional. It looks like it would be made by the manufacturer. And this is literally what a dot card is. See the little dot of paint right there? Literally like the name. You get a dot of paint, but then you get the color name, pigment info, light fast reading. Now every manufacturer is different with how much info they give you. So this is not standardized by any means. And then of course talks about like transparency, granulation, opacity. They have a key on theirs right here. But this was made by a different individual. So keep that in mind. This one is a good example of one that's sold on Etsy. She does go out of, she or he, they go out of stock quite frequently. So I'll try to find a link to it, and then you'll just want to add it to your favorites and grab it when it comes in stock. But yeah, I mean, the time dedicated to making this is absolutely insane. And it's on good watercolor paper. I'm sorry, I'm laughing because my one husky is throwing a tantrum. So some brands of dot cards that I have purchased over the years outside of the handmade one for Holbein, these are manufacturer created. So I have Van Gogh, they made one, and see, like I said, the information is different depending on the company. Some will have their color codes as well. So yeah, I mean, the information you get is always different, but most companies will include a key. So I have the Van Gogh one. I'll be honest, the metallics and interference were horrible. They would not re-wet, but hey, it wasn't that expensive. Schmincke has 2. So it's really important to note on that one. So you have the Schmincke here, and this is all of their super granulating ones. So this is in a separate sheet. So you buy 2 different ones. So this is the 40 super granulating ones, and they give a ton of paint. Look at that. See that dot? That's huge. So some companies give more than others. And then here's the other Schmincke one with all their other paints, not the super granulating, just the rest of their paints. And I, again, apologize. My husky Harper is very, very vocal, and I swear she's like deciding to do payback right now. So yeah, you can see here. Now, the dots on this one are not as generous as their super granulating. In fact, some are so worn down that I can't actually use them in comparison videos. However, I think what I'm going to do is I am going to repurchase all of the dot cards for these brands and a few others that I have found, and use the new dot cards for future color comparisons so that you guys get you know, more accurate representation of the colors, because a lot of these Schmincke ones I haven't been able to use unless I have the tube. So there is the Winsor and Newton as well. Same thing with theirs. They give you the world's worst amount of paint. The advantage to dot cards is, one, swatch them, be able to see what they're like, but two, use them in a project as well. However, Winsor and Newton gives you so little. Look, it's flat on the page. Theirs are another one that I can't re-wet. So, like, I have, unless I have it in a tube, I can't use them. We'll get to you in a minute. And then I have Daniel Smith. They give you a ton, and theirs are the sloppiest concoction of dots. See this? And they're just like, whatever. But they give you tons of paint to keep using. So you'll have them in various sheets, but all 238 colors are here. And so yeah, it's actually really pretty to look at when you get them all laid out. Now, two new ones I just bought. I will swatch on camera. I got the My Merry Blue ones. Unfortunately, two problems with this, and I haven't even used it yet. First off, it's not on watercolor paper. So I found that kind of odd. Because I'm basically going to have to pick up the paint off this smooth cardstock and put it in a swatch book. And then also a very tiny dot. I mean, it's flat on the page. See that? Like, no lift. So this was kind of disappointing considering the price. But I will be getting my swatch card book together, and then I'll work on that. But the issue is I'm trying to save some of these dots for color comparisons. So that's the pickle I'm in. I may end up buying another one strictly for color comparisons. I don't know. But I really wanted to swatch this whole thing on camera with you guys. However, you see the issue. Okay, A Gallo now has dot cards in this lavishly prepared folder. So, I mean, it is gorgeous. But on watercolor paper, like they should be, look at these monster dots. We've got some serious amount of paint here. So yeah, I do have the A Gallo ones. So I'm super excited to swatch these on camera soon. And also, I think there will be enough paint. I mean, some are pretty, like this lemon yellow up here is pretty thin. Some I might not be able to, but I'll be able to use most of these for color comparisons as well. What was it? I think it was Core that I had seen one on Jackson's for. I'm trying to remember. So I'm looking into that as well. I have been looking at some Etsy sellers that sell certain brand dot cards. I did have an amazing subscriber donate a ton of dots that she made with tubes she had from brands that I don't have dot cards for or tubes myself. So that was awesome. But yeah, I mean, this is, you can see every manufacturer does them differently, you know, right down to the setup. Like this one is very different from Daniel Smith. And then of course the paint volume as well. So the amount of info they share varies. In fact, that brings me to a point, because Daniel Smith does not have their pigment numbers on their swatch charts or a dot card chart. Wow, that's a hard one to say. So I have to actually look it up. So that's a little annoying, but yeah, that's just something to keep in mind. Everyone's going to have them made differently, but the most important thing to look for when you're buying dot cards is it on watercolor paper? Do they give a good, you know, copious amount? Sometimes you don't know looking at the picture, but check out reviews or someone swatching them. And then just remember, the whole point of this is just to give you an idea of the performance, the color, So you can decide to go buy a tube or a pan, but that's what dot cards are. They're literally dots of paint, but in volume, usually the entire collection from that company, so that you can try everything out at once. And yeah, I think they're worth every penny. They don't cost very much. Some of the higher end brands will cost you more than others. And then of course, like I said, you can buy them on Etsy from private sellers. I just recommend reading reviews and looking them up before you buy anything made by a private seller. But yeah, I recommend dot cards tremendously. Most of my watercolor purchases, if not all, have been influenced by a dot card experience. The only one I haven't been able to use dot cards for is Roman Schmal. I had to buy those blind, and thank goodness I have yet to find one or buy one that I'm like, ah, crap, wish I didn't pay for that. So, luck there. But yeah, if you're new to watercolor or you're exploring a higher end artist grade watercolor, I would definitely take a look at dot cards. Now, a few tips. If you're going to activate these, remember these are dried, so you need to put a little dollop of water from your brush, clean water, and let it activate. Let it sit there for a minute before you start moving along. Usually what I do is dollop a whole row, wait a little bit, and then I go through and swatch. Dollop the next row, and so on. You do you, but that's how I usually do it, just to get them activated. And some will take longer to activate than others. Just depends. But yeah, that is hopefully a good enough answer to what dot cards are, how you use them, how they vary among the brands. And until next time, take care. Bye now.